So, okay, what's your name and where are you from?
I'm Ryan Doughty. I'm from South Park, Pennsylvania.
All right, and what is vaping exactly? Tell me a little bit about what goes into this whole process.
Well, in its simplest form, it's an alternative to smoking. And to be maybe a little more detailed, it's, any type of device from your basic starter kit to maybe one of your more advanced devices that there's a heating element that would vaporize a nicotine solution into a vapor that would deliver you nicotine.
Okay, and what exactly are the chemicals inside of that fluid, that juice?
It depends on the specific kind of juice, but I would say the industry standard, each juice contains different ratios of PG, which is propylene glycol, and VG, which is vegetable glycerin, as well as the percentage of nicotine and natural or artificial flavoring.
So basically it comes down to like 3 chemicals.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. All right, and I mean, what made you get into this whole vaping hobby?
I seen a lot of friends doing it, and it was probably, I want to say it was the summer of 2010. I was getting really bad sinus infections from smoking, and a buddy of mine was using one, and while I actually worked with him at the time, we would run different appointments, and so I was in the car with him, and he happened to have 2 of them, and I just started using his in the car. He wouldn't let me smoke in the car. I was suffering from the sinus infections, and I just took on to it. Like, I really felt a difference from it, and from there, the sinus infections were so bad, and I don't know how to explain it. It was like some years I would get them, some years I wouldn't, but this particular time, I mean, it was like affecting my life type of sinus infection, and I just didn't get that. I mean, I knew as soon as I was smoking a cigarette that it was making whatever I had worse, and going from that right into vaping, I could instantly tell that it wasn't doing that, and I was feeling better, and so I started using his device. I eventually got the same exact kind as he did, and started using it on my own. And back in 2010, there wasn't the technology there is now, but even then, it was far enough along that the devices worked properly, and for me, instantly, I just never had the need to smoke again. I just started using that, and it worked, and there was just an endless amount of flavors and selection, and I just kind of ran with it, and that just leads me to where I'm at today.
So, being someone that has seen it start up and then now present, where do you think the future is going for vaping?
I think a lot of it depends on the way that they regulate the industry, but I think the possibilities are endless in a sense in terms of how popular it can become. If you look at the numbers, I mean, the numbers show like an astronomical rate of growth. And I would say more than anything, that's where I think we'll see a lot of the increase. And, right now the products are, I wouldn't say that they're at their peak of technology, because just when you think like, you have the smartest phone, a new kind comes out, but I couldn't imagine it being any better than it is now in terms of the devices available and the technology. But maybe small enhancements to each type of device over time, but I really see it being the future of smoking. That's the best way I could put it. For me personally, I can't say that it's healthier based on 100% science, because we don't have the time gap to judge that or base that off of, but based on how I feel from doing it, I think it's a healthier alternative, and I think as it becomes more and more popular, people will realize that and take a liking to it, and ultimately I could just see it being the future. I really do, and I don't think that traditional tobacco and regular cigarettes would maybe go away, but I know that their industry has certainly felt the impact we've had already to this point, and I know for me, I hope that it is a lot healthier, and I feel healthier. I can breathe better and smell better, and I have more energy, and I can taste food better, and so for me, that's what I base feeling better off of. Not to mention it helped with the sinus infection things I was getting, but it really is. It's hard to say exactly what the future is, but I know that it's going to have a big impact on this particular type of industry, for sure. And that's, there's sides of vaping that I haven't really got into as much as maybe some other people. And, some people do this and they want to keep it simple and just use their basic starter kit. And they want to work their way down in nicotine strength to where they can not vape at all. And for some people, that's all this is an alternative. But vaping is the type of alternative I feel that offers solutions. And I want to tie that in with the regulations. I think if they were to look at it more that way, of not only is it just an alternative, but it's a healthier one in my opinion, but it's one that can allow someone to decrease what it is they're doing all the way down to the point of where they can actually just smoke or vape, I should say, the flavor of whatever it is that they liked, just to keep that, I guess, physical side of the habit, and then eventually just completely quit.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about devices and mods. It varies from the most basic up into the most intricate stuff.
Sure.
There's collectors and beginners and all that stuff. So let's talk about that a little bit. Where does it start?
Yeah, what I have here is basically your standard starter kit. Which varies in price depending on the quality of it, but this particular one's around $20, and it comes with everything you need to get going other than the e-liquid. And a device like this, to be honest, from when I started till now is even better than what I had, which was considered at the time an upgraded version of a starter kit. But it works. I use the device just like this, no different, for every bit of 2.5 years, trying different flavors and different stuff in it. But it always worked for me, and I didn't need anything more than that. And even when some of the newer styles and the harder hitting or bigger vapor production type of devices started coming out, it just seemed like a little bit too much for me, and I just wanted to keep it simple. And so I stuck with what I had, and I had watched kind of everything changing, and a lot of my friends were using different devices that were working better, and not so much working better, but they provide, it's an upgraded version of this, and they produce more vapor, and they hit a little bit better, and the flavor maybe enhanced a little bit. And it goes from a device like this to maybe something like this here, which is just a lot bigger of a battery with a very similar type of tank on top that holds the fluid. You don't have to there's not much maintenance with it, and really the only thing you do is recharge the battery and refill it with juice, and you'll occasionally have to change the coil inside, which is what produces the nicotine, the vapor whenever it heats up. But and then outside of that, it's outside of the convenience items, even though this is maybe a little bit simpler and less expensive, and this is more expensive and definitely produces a lot more vapor and a lot better flavor. There's devices like this where you completely build the guts of it yourself with a resistance wire, and the resistance wire is just connected to a positive and a negative, and there's a mechanical basically mod attached to it where when you fire the button, it fires the coils, and when the coils fire, the cotton and the nicotine combined, and the heat of it just vaporizes the nicotine. And like to look into the inside, it's basically something just like that with pre-built coils on the inside, and when you hit the button, up goes the vapor. And with this on, it's maybe a little bit more complicated for it's definitely complicated for a beginner, but for someone that's used to it, this is ultimately where they end up if they progress through all the different levels of vaping. But you would just drip this kind of right into the inside, and once you feel like you have enough and not too little and not too much, you just hit the button, and obviously you can see it's a lot different than what your basic starter kit would do. And I always actually say to customers, if you were to take a device like this starter kit and a device like this mod here, and they were to mate, the child that they would produce would look something like this. And the way I kind of like to upgrade people, if they're interested in something better or something different, definitely if they come in and they've never vaped before and are looking to get off of cigarettes, I usually like to guide them right down the path that I went down. Only because that's my experience, and that's where I feel I can teach them the most, is through what worked for me. And I start them in a starter kit, and once they're ready, I feel like it's a nice transition to get them into something either a little bit more advanced than the starter kit, but not quite yet into something like this here. Or maybe they're ready because their friends do it. They just want to jump into something like, a lot of people will come in and just say, hey, I know about the starter kits, but I just want to blow big clouds, and because their friends are, and it's, I don't know if it's a cool thing for them, or if they just want to do what their friends are doing, or if they like the way that it performed. But ultimately, you can't argue with what they want, but I like to try to make sure that they're not going to waste their money on something that they wouldn't otherwise use. So I generally like to start them with something that's less expensive and work them up. But there's so many different variations of all three of these different kinds, and you can progress through the starter kit levels and get better tanks and upgraded batteries that you can put more voltage to the device or to the tank with. And you can get into some of these devices here, which is basically just an upgraded version of the upgraded versions of this. And
so basically it starts out, say you want to get into vaping, you come in, you buy one of those, and then afterwards, if you like it, it becomes like a hobby. Like you get into it, and there's a whole world of opportunities and things out there to experience through vaping.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it depends on the person. I have anywhere from, the 22, 23-year-old that definitely likes to get into, I think, the whole culture of it. It's almost like a subculture of people. But there's also like the grandmother, or the soccer mom, or the UPS driver, like, that they just want to quit smoking. And, they start with the basic starter kit. And, don't get me wrong, that some of those same people progress into the more advanced devices, but for some of them, just like I did in the beginning, they just want to keep it simple. And they let you know, and they want to keep it simple, and we allow them to do that. And they just buy the typical bottles of e-liquid, and they know that they can decrease their nicotine, and they start to, and eventually some of those people, I see them work their way all the way down to where they're ready to not have nicotine at all. And it's nice to see, and we're not looking for, we're not trying to get someone addicted to something that they keep having to come back for. It's nice to see repeat business, but it's also it's an even better feeling to see someone accomplish what they set out to do with vaping, and that's, I think, what's that's what's important. And we got into the business to make money, but we're also here, because we were passionate about what it has done for us, and just vaping overall. It's a passion of ours, and that's kind of what led us into doing this. And that's pretty much it about the devices and the culture.
And you make a few friends along the way.
Certainly, yeah. There's not really too many smoking groups out there where people meet up and smoke cigarettes together, but there definitely is a really deep culture of people, and there's just different levels of it, I think. But it really does. I mean, there's even, like, we have the banners on the wall that were for a cloud competition that we did, and to that average starter kit, just wanting to quit smoking type of vapor, like, that to them is not even understandable. But to the guy that maybe volunteers at a fire hall or works down the road and still likes to build the cars, and it's generally that type. But you got the bikers. It doesn't matter what your age is. It is a culture for some people, and some people take it to different extremes than others. But it's nice to see. It's there's the groups, the social media groups of people that even trade equipment or sell equipment or just go on there for general questions. And never have I ever gone on to a social media site and said, how come this cigarette's burning out? on its own if I don't hit it again and again. And like, oh, that's the new fire safe. Like, and that just didn't exist. And now with these, I think there's just so much different stuff going on, and it's so exciting and new and endless that, you know, it really is, I think, bringing some people together in many ways.